think I'll donate $1 million to the local orphanage. When pigs fly...
That's good. Will you be donating that $1 million now, sir?
No, I'd still prefer not.
Okay, in this video I'm just going to be explaining how I'm doing my climbing and flying, and maybe trying to give you a couple of tips on how you can do it too. Okay, so I'm just going to start with talking a little bit about how turbo works. There is no slope that is too steep for turbo. Turbo will go straight up a vertical wall if you need it to, provided that you can work your wheels up onto that surface and just keep them on there while you turbo up it. And that is essentially what your entire challenge is going to be while you're climbing, is just working your wheels up onto whatever you want to climb up. If we swap the hill out for a building of a similar shape, you see this is pretty easy to get up. I just have to push my nose into the front of it and it will go straight up the wall. If I come in at the same building from the side, you see we can't use the same method of just rubbing up the wall, but all it takes is a small backup and we can use a bit of speed to get our wheels up on the wall and it'll go straight up. So when I show clips of me flying like in the start, I generally tend to cut out all the time I spent sliding around at the bottom of the hill trying to get my wheels just in that right position on the wall. A lot of the time you can find an obscure bump or a little rock around that you can use to help you bump your wheels up onto the wall. I've got to bring in Cal for a second here to show this one because he's got access to an umbrella, but all it takes is a little umbrella and he can bump his nose up enough to get over this wall. If you know which structures can be jumped up by infantry players, you can float your wheels up these walls. So I just have to rub my wheels into this wall, you see, and they'll float up it magically and Cal's able to get over. When I'm climbing something tricky like a tree or a cliff, I will use the handbrake instead of the S key because the S key doubles as reverse. It sounds counterintuitive, but to get up this tree I will have handbrake on nearly the whole way up the tree. Turbo can be a bit jumpy and hard to control, but if you hold down handbrake while you're using it, it will still work. You'll just get smaller, more controllable movements.
You've got a hostile max in the area.
Right, so I can see this is probably a good time to move on to how flying works. Turbo works weakly in the air. The amount that it does work is roughly equivalent to gravity, so this means that if you can pitch yourself back and turbo towards the sky, you'll be able to use it to purposely counteract gravity and you'll just float. On a good launch, you'll be able to keep floating until you run out of cordium. While you are holding down turbo, you'll be able to use your turn keys to control your roll in the air. It's certainly not quick by any means, but I'll definitely be able to completely spin myself around here. You can begin to descend just by taking your finger off turbo quickly for a second. You don't want to take it off completely or you're going to drop out of the sky obviously, so just take it off for a second and then hold it down and you can control the rate at which you'll be able to drop yourself out of the sky. But here's a word of warning, knowing that you can control your roll and turn yourself around to land on your wheels, I certainly don't recommend landing on your wheels. More often than not, once you're leant back far enough to get floating, if you try and land on your wheels, it's a death sentence. Strangely enough, it's a lot safer to land backwards. But of course we want those points for style, so how do we get those points for style? As you're coming in to land backwards, you're going to want to start rolling just before you hit so that you still hit on your back, but you can use your rolling momentum to try and spin yourself around on your wheels. Here's a clip of how that should look at full speed. In this clip from Sheep, I'm convinced that if I try and land on my wheels, I'm going to blow up at this angle. But if I try and land backwards, I'm going to land on my roof, so I still take it backwards to avoid blowing up, but I'm able to just roll out of it at the last minute to get back onto my wheels. So that's not only how to survive, but how to get your points for style. The last little tip I can give you is about doing backwards jumps. You don't always need to be facing towards the structure that you're trying to jump on. In this clip here, I want to go for the roof in front of me, but instead I'm going to turn around and hit the wall behind it. Use the wall behind it to get a bit of a float on, float backwards, and onto the roof. There is always this building next to the tech plants that you can go up these stairs and use it to jump up and backwards onto a tech plant. This one at the ascent is a nice one because it puts together everything that we've learnt. I'm able to go up, do a nice backwards jump off the wall here, get a nice little bit of float onto it, descend onto the air pad with a little bit of roll at the end just to try and stop myself landing on my back. Okay, so they're my tips for climbing and flying. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you do like that sort of stuff and you want to see me climbing some more stuff or doing some silly jumps, go check this video out. Thanks, see ya.